I'm going to be doing the Big Bethesda Challenge, and yes, I know what that's abbreviated down to.
Dirty hoe!
The purpose of the challenge is to get every platinum on every Bethesda game that I can get my hands on. The first part of the challenge will consist of me trying to get every single platinum on all the Fallout games that I own before Season 2 drops in December. If I don't do it and you want to leave a forfeit in the comment section down below, please feel free, but also don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. I'll be starting with... Released in 2008, developed by Bethesda Game Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks, Fallout 3 sold 12.4 million copies worldwide and is the second best-selling Fallout game in the franchise. The platinum for this is a 5 out of 10 difficulty, takes one playthrough and around 40 hours to complete. So we start the game by choosing our sex and then choosing a name for our character. If you don't understand that reference, it's fine, it's more of a British thing at the minute. And then naturally, obviously, we have to go and create the most unhinged looking character in the world ever. I mean, look at my boy, isn't he beautiful?
What the hell is even that?
1 year later, we get our first mission, which is Baby Steps, where you have to walk over to your dad, who's voiced by Liam Neeson, and you get to pick your special. For the build, I went with what the guide said on PSN Profiles, which is a 4 in strength, 6 in perception, 4 in endurance, 4 in charisma, 7 in intelligence, 7 in agility, and 8 in luck. Now that all that is over and done with, you skip forward another 9 years to your 10th birthday party, where the overseer of the vault gives you your first Pip-Boy, and for receiving the first Pip-Boy, I also get another birthday present, some jobs to do around the vault. Oh, and I also get the first trophy of the game, which is Vault 101 Citizen, for receiving the Pip-Boy 3000. After receiving the trophy, you sort of have a wander around at your birthday party, you go and say thank you to everyone that's turned up basically. You talk to a martyr, you go and talk to his old lady Palmer who gives you a sweet roll. You go and see Andy, who's the Mr. Handy robot who smashes your cake up, and then you turn around and talk to Butch with his little dickhead friends and they try and bully you for your sweet roll. Yes, Butch, the bug-eyed fish boy. I mean, look at him, why would you let him pick on you? Fast forward another 6 years later and then we have to go and sit the GOAT. Now the GOAT exam is basically an exam to tell you what your job's going to be later on in the life in the vault. There's nothing more to it than that. Upon completion of the GOAT test, we learn that we're going to be the new fry cook in the vault. Not only that, we earn our first level up. Now, there are 9 trophies surrounding leveling up. 3 for good karma, 3 for neutral karma, 3 for bad karma, 3 at level 8, 3 at level 14, and 3 at level 20, but we'll get to those later on in the video. During the level up, we are also rewarded with our next trophy, the Goat Whisperer. After that, another 3 years pass and we're awoken by a martyr. She's basically going to turn around now and say that our dad's left the vault and everyone's blaming me. Look, it's not my fault that my dad has left the vault because he wants to go and have sex with Madison Lee over at Rivet City. But at this point, the vault's completely descended into chaos and I now actually do have to leave. Now that we've left the vault, we're looking over a completely destroyed and disheveled looking Washington, and we've completed the quest Escape, and we're also awarded with the next trophy, Escape. Now that we've escaped the vault, it was time to head over to Megaton, but to get there we had to go through Springvale, which discovered a location, which is one of the trophies that we're going to get later on in the video, for discovering 100 locations. And if I tell you it was a grind, it was a fucking grind and a half. But we do it for the love of the game, so let's just keep going. Now that we're inside Megaton, we meet up with Lucas Sims, who's the sheriff of the town, and we decide that we're going to talk about the bomb, but this is also where I get my first speech check of the game for another trophy later on. I managed to convince him to give me more caps to disarm the bomb, to give me another quest, the Power of Atom. Now that you've agreed to disarm the bomb, you also ask Luca if he's seen your dad pass through Megaton, and he tells you that he has, and also tells you to go and speak to a man named Moriarty, who owns the bar in Megaton. Before heading to the bar, we're heading to create a side supply, and we talk to Moira Brown, who is currently writing a book called The Wasteland Survival Guide, and she gives you the quest, Wasteland Survival Guide, where you will go and do 9 different tasks for her, essentially putting yourself in danger so she can write this book about how to survive in the wasteland. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know why I had to explain it. After doing that, I went to go see Moriarty to see if he'd tell me where my dad is, but instead of actually just being straight up and honest with me, he decided to be a little prick. I wanted caps for the information, but because I didn't have the caps, he then turned me into his little errand boy to go and find someone who actually had the caps, and the person with the caps goes by the name of Silver, and she's apparently a junkie, and you have to go back to Springvale to go and get the caps off her. So we turned up at Silver's house and we managed to convince her to give us some caps by telling her that we'll tell Moriarty that she's gone and she's no longer in the house. Wouldn't want to kill her because I'd never put my hands on a woman in that way. Now that we're giving Moriarty his caps, he tells us that our dad went to a place called Galaxy News Radio, and we all know who is at Galaxy News Radio. But before leaving, I went and spoke to Lucy West, who gave me the side quest Blood Ties. I basically need to go and deliver a message to her family at a place called Harrowfoot. On the way over to Galaxy News Radio, I decided to stop in at the Super Duper Mart to start doing the Wasteland Survival Guide whilst I was walking around the wasteland. And I also killed my first raider for a trophy that I'll get later on doesn't play well with others for killing 300 human enemies. Whilst inside the Super Duper Mart, I picked up some food that I needed to complete the first challenge of the Wasteland Survival Bit, hacked into my first of 50 terminals for the Data Miner Trophy, picked up some Nuka-Cola Quantums for the side mission I'll get later, which is the Nuka-Cola Challenge, and then took some medicine out of the pharmacy supplies for the optional part of the Wasteland Survival Guide. So after doing all that, I finally made my way to the G&R Plaza, where I got to meet up with the Brotherhood of Steel and had my first encounter with a super mutant behemoth, taking it out with a fat man that I picked up off the dead body of a Brotherhood of Steel soldier. This puts me on the road to the trophy that I'll pick up later on in the game, the bigger they are. Now that I was inside the G&R building, I was able to speak to 3-Dog, speech check him. He was then able to tell me where my dad was, and he told me that he'd gone to Rivet City. I asked how to get there. He told me how to get there. The map marker was added to the map. After speaking to 3-Dog, I was rewarded with the trophy following in his footsteps. I then had to speak to him again because I forgot to activate the quest Galaxy News Radio, where I have to go to the Washington Monument to install a satellite so there's better coverage for GNR across the wasteland. I then went back to Megaton, disarmed the bomb, spoke to Lucas Sims again, got another trophy for disarming the bomb, and then was able to move into my own house. Now that was over and done with, I decided to go and make my way over to Rivet City. On the way over, I met this little kid, Brian, who gave me the side quest those, because unfortunately for him, his dad has been killed by fire ants. As I arrived at Rivet City, I met up with a guy called Harkness. He's one of the guards on the boat. He wanted to know what my business was, and I told him that I wanted to go see Madison Lee. Before speaking to Lee, I spoke to the creepy old man in the corner, Dr. Zimmer, and he gave me the quest, The Replicated Man, because he wanted me to go and find an android, which we now know is actually Synths, because he is from the Institute, which is all part of Fallout 4. After speaking to Zimmer, I went and spoke to Dr. Lee. She told me that she knew who I was straight away, and then told me that my dad last went over to the Jefferson Memorial building. She also told me not to go there on my own, but you know, we're gonna go and do that anyway because we want Papa to come home. Miss you, Papa. The Jefferson Memorial building was filled with super mutants, but once I fought them off, I picked up some holotapes, listened to one of them, and found out that my dad had actually gone to Vault 112 because he wanted to go and speak to Dr. Braun. Inside Vault 112, I met up with the Robo Brain, and she told me that I was over 200 years late. She gave me a vault suit and told me to get on my way. After meeting her, I jumped inside the MetaQuest 30, and I was transported into the virtual world that is known as Tranquility Lane. But then I was also rewarded with another trophy, Scientific Purists. Then without wasting any time, because I actually don't have any time for Dr. Braun and his silly little games with him being a little girl, because it's a bit weird, absolute nonce behaviour, I ran off into the abandoned house and started putting together the little sound sequence to activate the failsafe. And if you didn't know about the failsafe, go and check out the channel, because there's a video on there that I most definitely 100% did not use. With the failsafe now activated, it also activated the Chinese firing squad, which took out every single member of Tranquility Lane. And without wasting any more time, I ran off to the door to leave the simulation. Once you're out of the simulation, your dad shows up and thanks you for getting him out of there, but then also questions as to what you're doing there getting him out. Pretty much of a no-brainer question, really, if you think about it in the long run, but it is what it is. After that, he tells you that Dr. Braun has told him that Project Purity, which is what he's been working on this whole time, isn't lost and that they can still do something about it. And then he tells you that he wants to get back to Rivet City to see Madison Lee because they need to go and find a G.E.C.K. So after all that dialogue, that completes Tranquility Lane, and the trophy, Tranquility Lane, pops. Dad and the scientists safely made their way over to the Jefferson Memorial building, and then I was set with a few tasks to do before we could carry on with Project Purity. But unfortunately, while I was finishing off the last of these two tasks that had been set, the Enclave showed up, and I knew that this was not a good sign. I tried to shoot them from where I was, but it wasn't going to work. I needed to get back inside the building and make sure that they didn't harm my dad. Unfortunately, it was too late. My dad had locked himself inside the rotunda with Colonel Autumn. He'd already shot one of the scientists because my dad wouldn't turn on the machine to activate Project Purity. But when he did eventually turn it on, it blew up and was letting in a lot of nuclear radiation. And after wasting all that time trying to find my dad in the wasteland, he sacrificed himself for what was probably supposed to be the greater good, and I lost him all over again. But this wasn't the time for crying and grieving. This was the time to get to the Citadel and meet up with the Brotherhood of Steel, because we still need to find the G.E.C.K. So after fighting my way through the sewers, taking on Enclave members with a crippled head and ghouls, I finally made it to the Citadel and got given the trophy, the Waters of Life. But as I said before, there's no time for crying and grieving over my dead dad. It's time to continue the mission and finish what he started with Project Purity, so I needed to make my way over to Vault 87. Now, to get into Vault 87, I couldn't necessarily just walk straight through the front door because it is very highly irradiated, and not even a radiation suit would stop me from contracting radiation poisoning and dying there on the spot. So I had to fight my way through a place called Little Lamplight, which is full of children who are basically the orphans of the wasteland. And then once they get old enough, they have to leave and they have to go to Big Town. After speech checking the local mayor, I made my way through the gate and asked him how I could get to Vault 87. He told me I didn't want to go there because that's where all the monsters are. The monsters being the super mutants. While I was fighting my way through Murder Pass, I also got another trophy for hitting level 8 with good karma. And just like buses, when you don't get one for a while, 2 came at once and I picked up the trophy, picking up the trail. Before finally making my way to Vault 87, starting the next quest, finding the Garden of Eden. After freeing Forks from the observation cell, it was time to go and get the G.E.C.K, but Forks offered to go in for me because the halls that it's kept in are way too irradiated for me to be there. So off he goes into the irradiated chamber, picks up the G.E.C.K, comes back out, hands it over to me, and now it's time to escape. But, as usual, there's another twist to the tale. Colonel Autumn's still alive, the Enclave have found out that we're in Vault 87, and now they're going to kidnap us and take us over to Raven Rock so they can interrogate us. During the interrogation, 2 things happen. We basically tell Colonel Autumn to go fuck himself because of what happened to our dad, and then the president wants to see him personally. As soon as Colonel Autumn leaves the room, the president turns around and wants to talk to us, wants to meet us face to face, frees us from our cell. We're going to pick up everything out of the locker, including the trophy, finding the Garden of Eden. After leaving the cell, I decided to go and drop a grenade inside one of the guards' pockets to give me my next trophy, Psychotic Prankster. To get this one, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is put a grenade or a mine or some sort of explosive inside a pocket of someone where they're not looking. After fighting my way through the Enclave facility, I'm finally face to face with the president, but you actually find out that the president isn't a person, he's actually a big computer. Whilst talking to the president, he somehow managed to convince me to take the modified FEV so that we can rid the wasteland of all the creatures, ghouls, super mutants, the lot. And I don't understand how I managed to do this, but I did it anyway. But then in the same breath, you sort of convince him to blow himself up and blow up the Raven Rock facility in the process. After escaping the facility, I went back over to the Citadel to tell the Brotherhood of Steel that the Enclave have the G.E.C.K and we need to get over there now as they're currently installing it. And then without hesitation, we managed to fire up Liberty Prime. Then that also gave me the next trophy, the American Dream. And it was now time for me to head back over to the Jefferson Memorial building to put a stop to what the Enclave were about to do. Liberty Prime then starts smashing his way through all of the Enclave soldiers that are trying to stop us getting to the Jefferson Memorial. And just as I'm about to watch Liberty Prime sacrifice his own life for the greater good, and so we can get inside the Jefferson Memorial, Victoria Watts turns up. Like, I'm not trying to do your quest yet. Please leave me alone and disappear because you've done nothing but be a nose the whole way through this fucking quest. Now that we're inside the Jefferson Memorial building, it was time to take out Colonel Autumn, mostly because he decided that it was going to be a good idea to kill our dad. I inserted the modified FEV, then we put in the code to fire up Project Purity and sacrificing our own life to make sure that this whole thing went live. Then the end credits hit and I got the trophy, Take It Back. Now that's the main campaign over and done with, it's time to do all the side missions and the cleanup and anything else that needs to be done. I decided that I was going to start with Silver Tongue Devil as it's one of the harder ones to get, but the best way to do this is through an exploit where you go and speak to Knock Knock in Little Lamplight. You'll just keep getting the same thing happen over and over again, and as you can see there, the trophy's popped. The next trophy I went and got was Keys Are for Cowards. Now usually again this is supposed to be a harder one with all the lockpicks that you're meant to do, but again there's another exploit. Go over to the broken bow of Rivet City, you come across this door, you lockpick it, go through it, come back through, close it, lockpick it, and it's just repeated the process. It took me about 20 minutes to do it all in all, but eventually, as you can see now, the trophy has just gone. The next trophy I got was the Replicated Man. I got this one for basically lying to Dr. Zimmer to say that the android that he was looking for was dead, gone and finished because I handed him over the parts that Victoria Watts had handed to me. The trophy I got after that was for completing Galaxy News Radio, and I don't actually know why, but all of the footage was like really corrupt, and for some reason it recorded for 9 hours, even though it took me no time at all. I'm not entirely sure why, but as you can see there, the trophy's popped. The video footage is like really weird, and I don't understand why. Not long after that, I got my next trophy, the Ambassador of Peace, for hitting level 14 with good karma. I then went on to steal the Declaration of Independence for some geriatric old man who lives on the boat of Rivet City, who probably should be working for the Brotherhood of Steel because he's got an obsession with the old times. He's also got the most American name in the world ever, Abraham Washington. And then he also rewarded me with another trophy, Sealing Independence. So as you saw from the Galaxy News Radio trophy, my capture card decided it wanted to have a meltdown and didn't actually catch Trouble on the Home Front or the Blood Ties footage that I had, so there are those 2 trophies there. I then went off to go and do one of the side quests of the century, and that one is Oasis. But as we know, this is no normal tree, this is actually Harold from Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. The whole point of this side quest is just to end Harold's life. He's just had enough, and he's also had enough of the people that aren't listening to him, those people being the ones that are worshipping him. So I set off underground, and I actually picked up another trophy right here, Slayer of Beasts, for killing 300 creatures as I killed a radroach as I entered the cave. So I did as Harold asked and destroyed his heart, and also picked up his mutation to make my skin as hard as tree bark. After making my way back to the surface, I picked up my next trophy, Oasis. The trophy I got after that was for picking up my 10th bobblehead of the game. Yes, I play with dolls. Managed to free Red from the Germantown police station jail cells, made my way over to Big Town to make sure that she got there safe, and picked up the trophy, Big Trouble in Big Town. Then went back over to Greyditch to find Brian Wilkes. Went inside his house, found out that his dad was dead, told him that his dad was dead, went to go stop the ants, killed the Ant Queen, killed the scientist that started it all, went all the way over to Little Lamplight to convince Mayor McCready to let him live there, then went and told Brian that he can go and live at Little Lamplight, and then he gave me the trophy, those. Then I stumbled across Budget Ant-Man and Budget Iron Man having a fight in the middle of Canterbury Commons, and it was up to me to stop them fighting, so I made my way down to the antagonizer's lair, and because I have the Lady Killer perk on, it was easy enough to get her to stop doing what she's doing and hand over the suit. I then went back to go and speak to the leader of Canterbury Commons, and he gave me the trophy, the Superhuman Gambit. Made my way back over to Megaton to go and see Moira, and told her that I had finished the Wasteland Survival Guide, so she gave me another trophy, the Wasteland Survival Guide. Then while exploring the waste, I managed to discover my 100th location, and like I said earlier, it was a grind and I hated it. I then stumbled across a little old lady who was living in a house on her own, and all she wanted was her violin, so I made my way over to Vault 92, picked up the violin, went back to her house, gave her the violin. All she could give me was her radio frequency, which was fine, because then I then got a trophy, Agatha's Song, and then not long after that, I hit level 20 for good karma, and got another trophy for that. Then I went and got the trophy, The Bigger They Are, for killing all the super mutant behemoths in the game. Then I went back over to Wonderworld to wake Riley up from her coma so I could go rescue her rangers off the top of the Statesman Hotel. With the rangers now secure and back at the compound, I met back up with Riley. She thanked me for getting her rangers off the Statesman Hotel, gave me a nice weapon and some ammo, and then rewarded me with the trophy, Ryu's Rangers. Made my way back over to Gurdishire with the 30 Nuka-Cola Quantums, gave them to Sierra, and she gave me the trophy, the Nuka-Cola Challenge. To be honest, this trophy was as much as a grind as finding the 100 locations, because they are just scattered all over the wasteland. After that, I went over to Evergreen Mills because I needed to get 2 more kills on people for the 300 people killed trophy. Doesn't play well with others, and after killing those 2, the trophy went. Whilst I was completing Strictly Business, which is just a quest where you have to put collars on people and send them to Paradise Falls, I started also doing the quest you gotta shoot him in the head. So while I was on Visit City, putting the collar on Flack, I also killed Ted Strader to get his key. After attaching the 3rd and final collar to someone, I returned back to Paradise Falls, spoke to Grouse, completing Strictly Business, and giving me the trophy, Strictly Business. Now you might be thinking that I missed out on Rescue from Paradise earlier on in the game after I speech checked Mayor McCready at Little Lamplight, but you'll be wrong. You can actually do that after doing Strictly Business. So naturally, the next best thing to do is to go and rescue all the children from Paradise Falls. So I made my way up to the cage, spoke to Sammy, who then told me I needed to speak to Squirrel because apparently Squirrel's good with computers and can access the collars from inside where he is right now. So Squirrel comes over, and what I was not expecting was to be speaking with 11 from Stranger Things. But I had to go onto Eulogy's computer and add the one inside the cage to the mainframe so that the kids inside the cage could access it through their computer, which would then in turn turn the collars off. So with everyone distracted, I went inside the office, turned the computers off, and then made my way back to the kids inside the cage. But then they told me that Penny didn't want to go because she'd taken a liking to one of the guards. But this guard had been thrown inside of the box, and the only way I could get to him inside of the box was to steal the key from 40. So I did the best thing that I knew I should do next to get this key. Yep, went on a murderous rampage because the only way I could get the key was by killing 40. So I took the key, went over to the box, noticed that Rory was dead, dragged his dead body over to Penny, showed her that he wasn't worth waiting around for, and then she made her escape. Met up with the kids again outside of Paradise Falls to make sure that they were going to be okay getting back to the Little Lamplight. They basically turned around and told me that they were going to be okay. And after that, I completed Rescue from Paradise, giving me the trophy. Rescue from Paradise. Then I went to go and put 1,000 holes inside of Roy Phillips so I could complete the trophy for Tenpenny Tower. Chief Gustavo was very pleased with my work, so he gave me 700 cap. Then that completed Tenpenny Tower, and that also gave me the trophy Tenpenny Tower on the way into Tenpenny Tower to go and do another quest. You gotta shoot him in the head by shooting Tenpenny in the head. Went over to Dukov's place and did the same thing to him, then went to the Republic of Dave and did the same thing to Dave, then made my way back to Mr. Crowley at Underworld to give him every single key that I collected off these people. He gave me caps for each key and then gave me the trophy, you've got to shoot him in the head. Then I made sure Hannibal and his friends made it safely to the Lincoln Memorial to complete the final side mission of Fallout 3 and get the trophy Head of State. The trophy that I next picked up was Weaponsmith for crafting all the weapons that you can find schematics for throughout the wasteland or completing missions. Then I picked up my 20th bobblehead of the game inside of the Bethesda ruins, and I thought this was quite fitting because then it gave me the trophy Vault-Tec CEO for finding 20 bobbleheads. I then hacked my 50th terminal of the game and got the data miner trophy. Then I got my next 2 trophies for level 8 neutral and evil karma. The next 2 that I received were for level 14 neutral and evil karma. After that was level 20 evil karma. And then after that was level 20 neutral karma, and the platinum trophy popped right alongside it. And that completes the Fallout 3 platinum trophy. Good lord, what a game this is. Easily my favourite Fallout game of all of them that I've played. There's nothing else compares, but obviously you know what's coming next. It's everybody else's favourite. It's New Vegas. That's going to take some time, but if you watched all this way in, thank you, really appreciate it. It does mean a lot because this does take a lot of effort. If you could, maybe push it into the atmosphere a little bit and give it a like, maybe subscribe if you enjoyed it. I don't know, it's completely your decision, but liking and commenting on the videos does push them through for the YouTube algorithm, and it feeds it and it likes it. So yeah, thank you again. Love you all. Goodbye.